DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police splatter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Netflix buffering, YouTube spinning, devices not connecting, Zoom calls dropping. Ugh, it's frustrating. Let's end your frustration by signing up for fiber internet in Clinton. Click the Connexus icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
From the Heart Media Group newsroom and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this expanded morning newscast. Good morning and thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. The news is brought to you by Baum Chevy Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, as well as Connexus, offering fiber internet in Clinton. Click their icon on DeWittDailyNews.com to find out more. Starting next Tuesday, December 16th, when you call DeWitt County 911 for a medical emergency, a new protocol will be in place for dispatchers to follow. On the WHOW Morning Show Thursday, DeWitt County CENTCOM Coordinator Karen Clevenger told the Heart Media Group that this program will give dispatchers detailed questions and instructions to follow.
Every dispatcher in the state of Illinois has to be emergency medical dispatch certified. And that happened at CENTCOM for a while, and we were using a standalone program. But now, through grants and opportunities, we've been able to acquire the priority dispatch medical protocols, which are integrated with the computer seamlessly with the computer-aided dispatch software. And so what happens is that the dispatcher will ask standardized questions, and all of that information then gets imported into the computer dispatch screen, which is then sent to the paramedics. So they know exactly all of the questions and all of the answers that we have already asked, and then all of the pre-arrival instructions that we may have given the patient. So it is before we would have to copy and paste all those answers and not necessarily give all of the medical instructions that we should have been giving. But now that's going to change, and that's going to go live December 16th at 8 a.m.
For those who have called 911 in the past for a medical emergency, Clevenger indicates the process is going to be a little different, as dispatchers will be asking more questions about the situation and taking notes to pass along to the first responders.
So the first question that we're going to ask is, what's the location of the emergency? We're going to ask the phone number that you're calling from, because our caller ID could be wrong. It is a computer. So, and then we're going to ask, okay, tell me exactly what happened. And then the answer to that question will then tell the dispatcher, okay, what chief complaint, what priority symptom am I going to ask questions about? Is it chest pain? Is it stroke? Is it a hemorrhage? Is it seizure? Is it a diabetic problem? Things like that. And then based on those, we'll ask if the age of the patient, if the caller is with the patient, we will give instructions based on the proximity of the caller is, how the caller is to the patient. So if they're right next to them, great, we can give many instructions. But if maybe someone was just flagged down and they were passing by and not with the patient, then that tells the dispatcher, okay, well, we're not really going to bother with really specific pre-arrival instructions in that maybe particular case until the caller can get right next to the patient. And then we'll ask if the patient is conscious or alert. And then we'll ask if they're breathing. And then from there, we may ask more specific questions like, are they sweaty? Do they have a history of angina or chest pains, that type of thing? And as soon as the protocol determines that, wow, help needs to get on the way, the dispatcher will stop and dispatch the help, but then they'll have the responding unit will have all of that information for them.
While the dispatcher is taking in a lot of information from the caller, Clevenger adds that they will also be able to give instructions, again, depending on the type of emergency they are responding to.
So after we've dispatched the ambulance and the fire units, if they're going to that call as well, then we're going to return to the caller, maybe ask a few more questions, and then we're going to give instructions. Now, depending on the severity and the chief complaint of the situation, we may be saying just something simple like, okay, what I want you to do is turn on your outside lights, gather your medicine, put away any pets. And then obviously call us back if anything changes for further instruction, because we're going to be giving that to the paramedics as well. But it also could range in things like, okay, I'm going to tell you how to control the bleeding. So get a clean, dry cloth and place it right over the wound and press down firmly. Don't lift up to look. We're going to give instructions. Let's say it's a woman in labor, and we're going to tell you to get some towels, something to wrap that baby up when that baby comes. And, or let's say that it's a situation where someone is not conscious, not breathing, and we have to give CPR instructions. We are going to give those instructions until help arrives.
Sure.
Then also, I mentioned it before, if someone's having chest pain and they have some aspirin available, we're going to instruct how much and what type of aspirin to take.
Sure.
And we're going to let those paramedics know that has happened. Also, if somebody is showing symptoms of a stroke, we are going to make you do some silly things, okay? Because it's a stroke diagnostic that's going to be reported then to the paramedics. And then that patient could be given thrombolytics and go through a certain medical regimen quicker. And it will be things like, say, the early bird catches the worm. So the caller is telling the patient to do that. And then the caller we're going to ask, did they say it clearly? What happened when they said that? I want them to raise their arms. Were they raised equally and on both, high enough, that type of thing. So we are doing and saying and giving instructions to the caller, and we're going to pass that information along to the paramedics.
According to Clevenger, all of the questions and information being gathered by dispatchers moving forward is going to help the paramedics responding to those emergencies.
It might seem like to the caller that we're asking a lot of questions, but every single answer to their questions goes to the responding unit. And I have worked closely with Jeff Kiesling, the director of DeWitt County EMS, and there are great things on the horizon for DeWitt County EMS. And I just think that this is a really good stepping stone just to provide that excellent customer service to the citizens of DeWitt County.
The new service protocol goes live on Tuesday, December 16th. Clevenger believes it will provide much more improved service for DeWitt County residents and better prepare the first responders. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. Let's take a quick break with a word from our sponsors.
Extra model year savings are available. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Farmer City. Yes, we have 2025 Silverados with extra savings as well as a few other models now. See our 2026 Silverados in regular cabs, double cabs, and crew cabs in gas or diesel. We also have a good selection of the all-new redesigned Chevrolet Traverse. Chevrolet, together, let's drive. See all our inventory at bombchevybuick.com right from the start.
Experience the power of better connection with Connexus Fiber Internet. Connexus delivers ultra-fast, reliable speeds to keep you connected at the speed of life. Whether you're working from home, streaming your favorite shows, or gaming with your friends, Connexus has you covered. Say goodbye to buffering and dropped calls and say hello to fiber fast internet. Ready to upgrade your connection? Sign up today by clicking the Connexus icon at DeWittDailyNews.com. Nothing connects us like Connexus.
News time is 19 minutes after the top of the hour. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. While the holidays are a time of great joy and anticipation for many, there are numerous others who do not experience that. The holiday season can often be a catalyst for increased domestic violence because of stressors like finances and cultivating the perfect Christmas for loved ones. On the WHOW Morning Show Thursday, Andrea Coker, Director of Services at Willow Tree Missions in Piatt County, So the Heart Media Group, her heart is always heavy this time of the year, thinking about those who are likely to see an occurrence of domestic violence.
Kids in environments, especially at Christmas time, when maybe they're not at school, when they're going to see family members, maybe they're not as close with or familiar with, and how this like feeling of true fear may overcome them. And then that kind of led me to be thinking of if there's also mom or dad who's experiencing domestic violence and how they're trying to kind of help cover for their kids, but also make it magical. And I can't even begin to imagine that overwhelming feeling of dread, yet hope and excitement and wanting to cover. And then on the flip side of that, what family members must be thinking and feeling as their family member who they believe is probably experiencing some domestic violence, or maybe they know that their family member is the victim of domestic violence, but where their thought process goes. So, like I said, I'm kind of all over the place this morning, but ultimately this time of year has really got me thinking about the extra stress that's gonna lead to increased instances of domestic violence and kind of where to go from there.
According to Coker, the holidays tend to bring out occurrences of domestic abuse in some form. She explains some victims know where they are in the cycle and will sometimes trigger the abuser just to get past that point and return to the honeymoon period for the holidays.
They follow, as you said, they follow the same pattern, and it is very common for instances of increased abuse to happen just before the holidays. I mean, days leading up, this time frame right now, because that stress is really starting to mount. Also, a lot of times it's difficult for people to understand, but a lot of times people living in a DV relationship, victims of domestic violence, will almost provoke their abuser. And I don't mean that in like to make them explode, but a lot of times it's easier to just get it over with and get to the point of that honeymoon period so that this time of year can be a little bit easier. So they can feel it coming if they know their cycle. They've been living in this a long time. So sometimes it can be a little bit easier to just get to the point of the event.
The desire for the perfect Christmas is natural, and Coker indicates that victims, if they have children, want that for them. She indicates many victims are willing to tolerate much more so they can create the magical holiday experience for their kids.
I think everybody wants their holiday experience at home to be magical. I think that they want this sense of like Christmas card holiday. I think that's a normal thing to feel like we can deliver for our kids. So a lot of times kids they just had such a complexity of victims are willing to put up with a lot more so that they can make that sort of magical experience. There's this idea that leaving a relationship this time of year, especially this next 2 weeks, will like destroy children or make them devastated or ruin their Christmas experience. When I can understand why there's a feeling of that, but the reality is the likelihood is staying in the relationship or continuing to experience the domestic violence encounters. Children are seeing that too. So the reality might be that the children would be in a better situation if an abused person were able to leave right now, but also resources are so limited all the time, and especially so right now because people are needing so much extra help. It just makes it really difficult to get out of these situations.
There is often a stigma around victims that if they do not leave or press charges against their abuser, then they have no one to blame but themselves for their circumstances. Coker points out that the control an abuser has on their victim is sometimes so overwhelming, leaving is one of the most dangerous times for a victim.
Yeah, there is this. So a lot of times we're around different family members this time of year, and people may realize that their family members in a domestic violence relationship. But if you don't have an understanding of domestic violence, it can be really easy to kind of fall into the trap of what isn't really going on and only what you're seeing at the surface. So there's this conversation that takes place more often than I'm proud of with so many people of, well, she had the opportunity to tell the police and she didn't, or he. It is just so much bigger than that, but a lot of times those sorts of like narratives will begin this time of year because family are together. And so then once maybe the abuser and his victim leave Christmas dinner, everybody kind of starts to talk. And so that's where some of this conversation, I'm hopeful, can start to shift. Someone not pressing charges or not telling the whole truth to law enforcement or the court system does not mean that they're not a victim of domestic violence. It doesn't mean that they don't want out of the relationship. Sometimes it just isn't safe. The reality is victims of domestic violence are in life-threatening situations. No one knows that better than the victim themselves. And if they talk in that moment, it is possible that they are just not safe. Our court system is kind of designed not to protect victims as well as it should. It's getting better. Every year it's getting better. We've got some new laws in Illinois taking effect in January that are going to help. But the reality is victims are just not always safe talking to the people in the system that's designed to keep them safe.
Coker hopes those in need this holiday season will seek help. You can visit willowtreemissions.org for more information on all its services. You can also call 217-762-2350. Central Illinois weather is looking very up and down as we get closer to the Christmas holiday. Ed Shimon at the National Weather Service in Lincoln indicates cold weather will dominate December 15th through 19th, but getting into Christmas week, a warm-up is expected with some rain. Even severe weather is possible.
Sure, yeah. The 6 to 10 day outlook is still showing some of that cold air lingering around. Below normal temperatures is expected, but below normal precipitation at the same time. So just a cold, non-precipitation kind of period between the 15th and the 19th. But as we get closer into the Christmas week, we're seeing some warm air kind of shifting towards us. But we're right on the battleground between warm air and cold air. So there's going to be a couple of storm systems coming through. More than likely, there's going to be a rain session in that, this is the 17th to the 23rd. Looks like we'll probably see some rain. We're below normal precip trend, but there's going to be precipitation in there based on where we're seeing the storm tracks. So while we'll get snow Friday morning and then during the day Saturday, that warm surge that's going to come in, that 8 to 14 day time frame might start melting that. And actually, we're seeing maybe some 50-degree temperatures showing up just before Christmas.
Wow.
So if you want a white Christmas, it's starting to not look as good. And actually, we might even have a few storms that week. A couple of models are showing, a cold front bringing in, high dew point air. Cold front comes and bashes into that, and some storms bubble up. So,
wow.
This time of year, severe weather is still a possibility. So we just have to keep an eye on that. It's pretty far out yet, so we're just dabbling into that fantasy forecast time range. But Christmas week is showing a little bit of a warm surge, which you always got to have pause with this time of year.
Looking towards the New Year holiday week, Shimon indicates more precipitation is on the way, but will depend on where Central Illinois ends up on the temperature scale, whether it is a wintry precipitation or just rain.
It's showing us right between below normal to the north and above normal temps to the south. So we're in that battleground. We kind of figured that, but the above normal precip signal is pretty high. Okay. So, the amount of rain we get, it doesn't take a lot to get above normal this time of year because we're normally traditionally pretty dry. We only get about 2 1/4 inches of total water equivalent, that fall. So we get a storm event where you drop an inch of rain or some crazy thing like that. You quickly bounce above normal. So we're looking at a wet end of the month is what I'm trying to say, into early January. Now, whether that means some snow in there as well, I would say that we're probably going to see a snow event after the warm surge between Christmas and the end of the year. Just be ready for, some wintry precip as we head towards the January 1st holiday, I think.
According to Shimon, the end of December is going to be pretty wet. Every couple of days, there will be some form of precipitation. For all things weather data and forecasts, visit weather.gov/Lincoln. Again, that's weather.gov/LINCOLN. Get news anytime from your computer or your mobile device from DeWitt County's #1 source for news, sports, police blotter, obituaries, and more. It's all free all the time at DeWittDailyNews.com.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. In Provo, Utah, the 22-year-old man accused of murdering Charlie Kirk has made his first in-person court appearance. Trump administration vows to appeal a federal judge's release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, an illegal immigrant who had been living in Maryland and who the administration wants to deport. Homeland Security Secretary Noem says the U.S. seizure of a rogue oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela was a success. She's not ruling out further seizures. No relief yet from devastating flooding in the Pacific Northwest. Washington state especially hard hit. Forecasters say the region could see more catastrophic flooding today. A grand jury.
From the Hart Media Group Sports Desk, IL Sports Wire, and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this local sports report. In a game heard on WHOW and all its digital platforms, the Clinton Lady Maroons got ahead early and never looked back and took the 72-41 win over the Shelbyville Lady Rams in Central Illinois Conference high school girls basketball action on Thursday night in Clinton. Shelbyville struck first, but Clinton took the lead away early, making the score 20-10 by the end of the first quarter and 40-24 heading into the half. The Lady Maroons would put up 32 points in the second half to Shelbyville's 17 to seal the win. Clara Dempsey led all scorers with 33 points, while Carly Anderson added 18. Each made 4 from beyond the arc. Avery Smith added 10 points, all in the second half. The team shot perfect from the foul line. The Lady Rams were led by 6'1" senior Kenzie Jones, who scored 19 points. Kendall Bennett added 7. With the win, the Lady Maroons improved to 5-4 and 1-0 in the CIC, while Shelbyville falls to 6-4 and 0-2 in the CIC. Clinton will continue conference play when they take on the Meridian Lady Hawks on Monday at 7 p.m. in Macon. Tune into the next Clinton Maroon sports broadcast when the girls host Roanoke Benson on December 18th. Tip-off is at 7 p.m. Hear all the action on WHOW and all its digital platforms. The Monticello Lady Sages made adjustments coming out of the half to stay in the game and go on to beat the Mount Zion Lady Braves 50-47 in non-conference high school girls basketball action on Thursday night in Monticello. The Lady Sages had a 1-point lead heading into the second quarter, but Mount Zion pushed ahead in the second to take the 26-22 lead at halftime. Monticello came out of the half with a strong defensive presence, taking the lead back 34-33 going into the fourth quarter. Both teams made a push to find offensive rhythm, but the Lady Sages pulled out the win, outscoring Mount Zion 16-14 in the fourth. Monticello was led by Allie Widener, who scored 16 points and had a team-high 7 rebounds. Lexi Leatherwood had 12 points and shot 5 of 6 from the floor, while Sarah Cressup added 11 points. With the win, Monticello improves to 5-3, while Mount Zion falls to 5-4. The Lady Sages will play their second of a 3-game homestand on Tuesday when they host Arthur Lovington Atwood Hammond. Tip-off is at 5:30 p.m. Tune in to the next Monticello Sages sports broadcast as the boys take on the Hayworth Hornets tonight at 7 p.m. You can hear all the action on 95.9 FM WEZC or stream it online at DeWittDailyNews.com. Steven Stamkos scored 4 goals, and the Nashville Predators beat the St. Louis Blues 7-2 on Thursday night for their 4th win in 5 games. Philip Forsberg, Ryan O'Reilly, and Michael Bunting all scored for Nashville. Luke Evangelista had 3 assists, and Roman Josi, Matthew Wood, Nick Blankenberg, and Fedor Shvekov each had 2. Jusei Saros finished with 24 saves. Robert Thomas and Hugh McIng scored for St. Louis, and Philip Broberg had 2 assists. Jordan Bennington had 19 saves through 2 periods, and Joel Hofer had 6 in the third. Stamkos gave the Predators a 1-0 lead 8 minutes and 22 seconds into the game, batting the rebound of his own shot out of the air and past Bennington. Stamkos doubled the lead with 8 minutes and 41 seconds left in the opening period, knocking in the rebound of a shot through traffic by Roman Josi. McGinn got the Blues on the scoreboard 4 minutes and 17 seconds into the second with his first NHL goal. Broberg sent a centering pass from the right corner that Robbie Fabry tapped over to McGinn in the right circle, and the 27-year-old, playing in his 7th career game, put it past Saros for his first point. O'Reilly restored Nashville's 2-goal lead at 8 minutes and 38 seconds with a shot from the inside edge of the left circle for his 10th of the season. Forsberg pushed the lead to 4-1 with 8 minutes and 17 seconds left in the second. After a backhand deke, he lifted a forehand shot over Bennington's left pad for his 11th. Stamkos made it 5-1 just 23 seconds later with his 15th career hat trick as his pass for Matthew Wood deflected off Blues defenseman Justin Falk and past Bennington. Thomas pulled the Blues within 3 with 6 minutes and 4 seconds left in the second, but Stamkos capped off his big night with his 12th of the season about 90 seconds later with a backhander past Bennington. It was Stamkos' second career 4-goal game, first since December 14th, 2023 at Edmonton while playing for Tampa Bay. Bunting capped the scoring with a power play goal at 7 minutes and 36 seconds of the third. The Blues host Chicago on Friday night while the Predators are at Colorado on Saturday night. The Chicago Bears were rolling along and on top of the NFC before they got tripped up at Green Bay last week. They'll get their shot at payback when Jordan Love and the Packers visit Soldier Field next week, but before then they can turn their attention toward the rematch with their rivals. They'll need to deal with Myles Garrett when they host the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. The Bears have won 5 straight and 9 of 10 before losing 28-21 at Green Bay last week when Caleb Williams got intercepted in the end zone in the closing minute. They fell behind the first-place Packers in the NFC North and plummeted all the way from 1st to 7th in a crowded conference race. With little room for error, they can't afford to look past Garrett and the Browns. The 4-time All-Pro has 20 sacks and needs just 2.5 to match the NFL single-season record shared by New York Giants Hall of Famer Michael Strahan and Pittsburgh's T.J. Watt. The Bears secured a winning season for the first time since the 2018 team won the NFC North when they beat defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia in Week 13. Their most recent trip to the playoffs came 2 years later, and despite a big jump in Johnson's first season, a postseason appearance is no sure thing. The schedule takes a tough turn after this week with the final 3 games against the Packers, at San Francisco, and against Detroit at home. The Bears and 49ers have identical records, and the Lions, who are 8-5, pounded Chicago in Week 2. Cleveland, which has lost 2 straight, is in last in the AFC North. The Tennessee Titans outlasted the Browns 31-29 last week. Rookie Shedeur Sanders is coming off the best performance of his young career. The former Colorado star, who fell to the 5th round in the draft, threw 3 touchdown passes, ran for a score, and finished with 364 yards against Tennessee. He joined Joe Burrow as the only rookie QBs in league history with at least 350 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown in a game. Sanders could be challenged this week. Though the Bears tend to give up big chunks of yards, they also lead the league with 18 interceptions and 27 takeaways. The Bears have faced their share of elite pass rushers, including Detroit's Aiden Hutchinson, Las Vegas's Max Crosby, and Green Bay's Micah Parsons, but Garrett poses a different challenge. He has more sacks in the 7 straight games and 16 in that span. 3 times this season, he has recorded 3 or more in a game, and he had 5 in a Week 8 loss at New England. Cleveland will have its 9th different offensive line starting combination Sunday with center Ethan Pocic lost for the season after suffering an Achilles tendon injury in last week's loss to Tennessee. Luke Weipler will get the start. Right guard Wyatt Teller will miss his 2nd straight game, and right tackle Jack Conklin remains in concussion protocol. Tevin Jenkins is expected to start at right guard against his former team, while KT Leviston would be at tackle if Conklin can't go. With the National Weather Service predicting a high temperature of near 14 degrees on Sunday, this could be one of the coldest games at Soldier Field. Chicago's coldest home game by temperature was 2 degrees with a minus 13 wind chill against Green Bay on December 22nd, 2008. The coldest by wind chill was a minus 15 games against the Packers on December 18th, 1983, when the temperature was 3 degrees. After allowing Tennessee's Tony Pollard to run for a career-high 161 yards last week, it doesn't get any easier for the Browns' run defense. The Bears are averaging 152.6 yards on the ground, second best in the league, and have a formidable duo in DeAndre Swift and rookie Kyle Monungai. Get highlights of your local high school program anytime by finding IL Sports Wire on your preferred social media platform, and get local sports anytime from your computer or your mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com.